The Chinese takedown of luxury goods is wild right now because luxury goods are a huge source of soft power for the West. Soft power is power through things like culture, music, even language. Like US TV shows, that's a form of soft power because it makes the US aspirational and desirable in some ways. So with luxury brands, Fendi, Prada, Gucci, these Birkins, it creates this aspiration for the West, or aspiration to be European in a way, showing that Europe is this gold standard of quality. But when China's revealing that 80% of anything you buy that's Gucci is made in China, that over 60% of anything that you buy from Prada is made in China, that the only difference is that they send it over to Europe and then they stitch on a made in France or made in Italy little label, it's the ultimate pulling the curtain on the wizard in The Wizard of Oz and showing that there actually is no real magic and power in the person who's controlling Oz. I think it's going to be really interesting because there is such a stigma of something that's made in China. There's this perception of lesser quality in the West, but when you reverse that paradigm, when you show that all these goods that you thought were better because they came from Italy or France or wherever, when actually, in actuality, it comes from China, you're forcing consumers to reckon with why they make choices. So if consumers are going to start questioning the perceived worth of luxury goods, consumers are going to then realize that luxury brands are just high markup middlemen. They're just peddling an idea of something versus an actual quality good. And you can just then cut them out and go to the source. And so I think what China is doing right now, by shifting this perception of soft power, by taking back soft power, by showing real power in infrastructure and manufacturing, we're going to see a real flip in a lot of things, whether it comes to labor market, whether it comes to manufacturing, whether it comes to who buys luxury goods and perception of luxury as well. And so I don't know, I'm just in it for the ride here.
My FYP is full of videos coming out of China and just exposing all of these luxury brands. Bueno, di que luxury, porque ahora they're just exposing them for what they really are, which is a bunch of frauds. In these videos, a lot of them are talking about how they are manufacturing a lot of these luxury goods and then sending them back, or shipping them back, I should say, to their respective country, whether they're from like Italy, France, etc., you name it. They send it back there so that they can stamp on it made in Italy, made in France, made in America, because Nike and Adidas are also on that list, if you don't know. But anyway, I been knew that. That's why I didn't have no problems like with any girls that were buying from DH Gate or going to Canal Street, because they're made in the same factory, babes. A lot of you girls will literally buy Chanel, Dior, whatever, and shit on the girls that get stuff from DH Gate. Meanwhile, they're coming from the same factory, boo boo. And don't get me started on these luxury brands selling jewelry, because y'all are goofy for buying from them, okay? I would rather go to Canal Street, go into one of those jewelry stores, or even in the Diamond District, go to any of those places, or hit up, one of my Arab friends and let them know, hey, I want to go jewelry shopping, I want to get some gold. I'd rather go with them because I know that I'm getting my money's worth. Unlike going to like, what is it? But what's everybody getting nowadays? Oh, the Van Cleef or whatever. Please, please be for real. I distinctly remember seeing a video. I don't know if it was on TikTok or on YouTube. It might have been on TikTok, to be honest. It was a man. I think this came out when this whole scandal, I think it was from Dior or something. Like it cost like $57 in total to make their bags, and they're selling it for the thousands. Anyway, I digress from the point, but I remember distinctly seeing that video and how a lot of these luxury brands don't make their products in-house anymore, that they ship it elsewhere. My bad. They ship it elsewhere and then they have it sent back in order to put the finishing touches on it. I think there's only very few brands, I think Coach is one of them, that still makes their things in-house. Listen, this is why I stick to Coach, Kate Spade. I will never shit on somebody that buys from DH Gate or Canal Street, because I've gotten a few things from those places. And I've also bought things secondhand or from consignment stores or vintage stores. So, to the girlies that make it their entire personality that they only buy designer items, ¿Cómo te quedó el ojo ahora?
It ain't no way we've been getting finesse like this, y'all, and China just exposed it all. So boom, Americans out here dropping $800.12 and even $4,000 and more on design of clothes, thinking it's all luxury, all high-quality clothes, the high-end stuff. But China just pulled the curtain back and showed the world that most of the stuff is made in the same factories with material that cost a fraction of the price. So we're talking shoes that cost $30 to make, but as being sold in US for $700. And we're talking hoodies that cost $10 to make that's being sold for over $300, and jeans that cost $50 to make that's being sold for over $300, sold for $5 to $1,000. That's not my end. That's robbery, y'all. And this is the crazy thing. This is not even new. A lot of people just been blind to it. They think it just because they got a fancy label that means they cost more. In reality, that just means the mock UPS is better. China basically said, hey, y'all go now. Y'all better act like, you know, and now everybody mad. They not mad at China. They mad at the brands that been overpricing this stuff they've been buying. They've made at the brands that they've been worshiping. See a liquor, no Diddy, they see. And now they were never buying quality, they were buying status. And they finally waken up. All of this happened because of this tariffs. People would have never knew, or some people was really too blind to even notice the fact. But now everything is front and center for everybody to see. So if you wanted them, people that dropped the check on this design of and now you feel played, let me know down below in the comments. Let's talk about it.
China is fully prepared to fight to the very end because the world is big enough that the United States is not the totality of the market in the world. So if the United States wants to go in that direction of completely shutting itself out of the China market, be my guest.
Yeah, and China will lose the US market, which, as I've said, is 15%.
We don't care. We don't care. China has been here for 5,000 years. Most of the time, there was no United States, and we survived. And if the United States wants to bully China, we will deal with the situation without the United States. And we expect to survive for another 5,000 years.
When you hear Donald Trump say China wants a deal, it just doesn't know how to go about it. They're proud people. J.D. Vance talks about Chinese peasants. What do you make of their conduct in this respect?
If J.D. Vance thinks that he's dealing with the peasants in China, and I'm proud to be a descendant of the peasants, most of us are descendants of the peasants anyway, that's our tradition. We are farmers before, but now we are one of the leading industrialized economies in the world. So I'm sorry, J.D. Vance doesn't know what he's talking about. And therefore, I don't think there will be China-US dialogue unless the United States changes its attitude towards China. Deal with China as it is, show respect to China, show respect to the Chinese people, and don't try to impose your prejudice and biased view about China or about the rest of the world.
China said they are fully prepared. They don't give a damn whether the US government keeps on increasing their tariffs on them, like they've been here for the past 5,000 years, and they're going to be here after the US might have gone into oblivion, So I don't think the US government understands the magnitude of what they are trying to do in terms of goods and services, right? You're trying to increase tariffs. Meanwhile, more than half of your products are being produced in China, and then now you want to come and impose unreasonable tariffs on these people that literally produce your products at a very negligible prices, right? Almost 80% of the world's products are produced in China because of the cheap labor. And of course, some people will say, yeah, most of the products are substandard products, but yet people go there. Even all these luxury products, all these luxury names, that make luxury products, they go there and make product at a subsidized rate, and they come here and sell them at exorbitant prices. Hello, if you're new to my YouTube channel, welcome on board. Here is like a free zone that we do not judge anybody, right? So if you're here to get information about things happening in the world, this is the right spot for you. But if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to this channel, hit on the like button, and also hit on the notification button in order not to miss any of my videos, right? So just like I said, if you want to unwind, this is the right place for you to come and unwind. And I just want you to know that whatever you're going through, you're not the only one. We are in this together. We are in this life together. So we're going to keep on informing each other, encouraging each other, and making each other feel loved, right? Anyway, let's go right back into the videos.
And this is why America was trying to keep it a secret of what's going on in China. And if you don't know, look at the search bar. and see what was going on behind the scenes in China and how they exposed America. All that designer that you've been spending your hard-earned money on, $500, $600, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000. So basically all that money that you've been working for, you're basically spending on knockoffs, if that's what you want to call it. Alleyway specials. If I must say, China is basically saying your favorite designer gets their clothes, their bags, their shoes made in China, not in Italy. So when you're thinking that you're getting the finest materials, you're getting it from China. Now China is saying that they got them for cheap and they've been had them. They're just not keeping it a secret anymore. So what they're implying is that that designer that you've been wearing is coming out of their factory. The whole time you're thinking it's come from Italy. And they make it for cheaper, and we might as well not spend what we've been spending on that designer that you've been buying. And it's crazy to me because a lot of people like to flex their designer. A lot of people even lost their lives to designer. And you're going to tell me that China's been making it this whole time? But all I can say is this, all this trade war is bringing the truth to light.
Some say as long as there's a tag saying made in China, the bag can never be luxury. However, in fact, more than 80% of the luxury bags in the world are made in China. But those luxury brands just won't acknowledge that. They take almost finished bags from China factories back to their own factories and just do the repackaging and logo installing, something like that. That way, the bags will appear at their boutiques as made in Italy or made in France. You know, those sophisticated European countries, which make you feel mysterious, royal, and thus luxury. Now, close your eyes. Let's just do a little, very easy experiment in your head, okay? Imagine that you have an Hermes bag, and suddenly the label on it changed from made in France into made in China, while everything else, like leathers, zippers, and hardware, remain the same. Do you suddenly feel that your bag is not as luxury as before? If you do, that means you have been misled and poisoned by the market campaign of those luxury brands for too long. Welcome to the real world. Now you see, those bags are made in China by our intelligent and diligent Chinese artisans. Let's not be poisoned and misled by the market campaign any longer and be a real person. Buy a bag from us, from our factory in China. See the real world for yourself.
Hello from China. Let me show you the United States products in my home. Nothing. Do you have something from China in your home?
That one stung. He went there. I know your FYP has been flooded by Chinese manufacturers giving you the inside scoop on the cost of goods, especially luxury goods. 50% of cameras, 30% of air conditioners and TVs, 25% of washing machines, and 20% of refrigerators in the world is now being produced and assembled in China. China makes half of the world's cement and flat glass, and about a third of its aluminum. It's true what that creator said. Just look around in your house. I'm willing to bet most of your belongings have been made in China. Do I have anything that's made in the US? And if you've been paying attention to Exposed Talk, almost 80% of luxury goods come from China. Slap a luxury label on there and the value goes up 10 times. Factories telling us $30,000 Hermes bags costs $1,500 to make. Your typical store item costs 20 cents. Guys, we picked the wrong fight.
You mean to tell me all these luxurious goods are being manufactured in China for like half of the price, if not of the price, and once they are brought to the US, they are usually sold at higher prices. So for example, if things are made or manufactured in China, for example, $5, and when they are being brought to the US, people are made to buy them for almost maybe $500. That's crazy. Come to think of it, guys. I mean, what was Trump thinking when you impose these tariffs? You think Chinese people are not going to fight back? Of course they're going to fight back. Like,
This is why this bag from our factory only costs you 1,000 USD.
Have y'all seen that TikTok by the Chinese guy exposing how luxury goods are actually made? Basically, he says most of the luxury brands we use every day are actually made in China. then shipped to Europe just to get rebranded and sold back to us at insane prices. Like a wedding ring that would cost $2 in China somehow turns into a $2,000 ring. China is the world's biggest manufacturing hub. 80% of your Gucci, made in China. 60% of your Prada, also made in China. Even Chanel, Fendi, Louis Vuitton, Adidas, Nike, you name it. The only real difference? China ships the products to Europe, slaps on a Made in France or Made in Italy label, and boom. Luxury? It's ridiculous. While people are out here clowning Shein and Temu for being cheap and low quality, the expensive stuff you think is handcrafted in Paris or Milan? Yeah, that's made in China too. So what are you really worried about? Come on, your MAGA hat? That's made in China too.
Damn.
It ain't no way we been getting finessed like this, y'all. And China just exposed it all. So boom, Americans out here dropping 800, 1,200, and even 4,000 and more on designer clothes, thinking it's all luxury, all high quality clothes, the high end stuff. But China just pulled the curtain back and showed the world that most of the stuff is made in the same factories with material that costs a fraction of the price. So we're talking shoes that cost $30 to make, but it's being sold in US for $700. And we're talking hoodies that cost $10 to make that's being sold for over $300. And jeans that cost $50 to make that's being sold for $500 to $1,000. That's not high end. That's robbery. Y'all, and this is the crazy thing. This is not even new. A lot of people just been blind to it. They think it just because it got a fancy label, that means it costs more. In reality, that just means the markups is better. China basically said, here y'all go. Now y'all better act like you know. And now everybody mad. They not mad at China. They mad at the brands that been overpricing this stuff they've been buying. They mad at the brands that they've been worshiping. See a sucker, lick a sucker, no diddy. They seeing now, they were never buying quality. They were buying status. And they finally waking up. All of this happened because of this tariffs. People would have never knew. Or some people was really too blind to even notice the fact. But now everything is front and center for everybody to see. So if you one of them people that dropped the check on this designer shit, and now you feel played, let me know down below in the comments. Let's talk about it.
For people that do not understand what are tariffs, because I've seen some videos where some Americans do not really understand tariffs. They felt Trump imposing these tariffs on these countries, you know, it's a way to empower the American economy and all of that. But for those of you who do not have an idea what tariffs are all about, I'm gonna, read it out to you. So what are tariffs? Tariffs are taxes that a government places on imported goods. When the US imposes a tariff, it's making it more expensive to bring certain foreign products into the country. For example, if the US places a 25% tariff on imported steel, a $100 piece of steel from the abroad would now cost $125, right? You might want to ask, why are tariffs used? To protect domestic industry, make imported goods more expensive so that Americans buy local, and then raise government revenue through, this is less common than today, right? And then trade negotiation too. Tariffs can pressure other countries to change their trade-made policies, and then address trade imbalances, trying to reduce the gap between what the US imports versus what it exports. So these are some of the reasons why tariffs are used or imposed on other countries. But the implications to the US economy. Okay, so the prongs are to protect US jobs in certain industries like steel to solar, and then it encourages domestic production by making foreign goods costlier, right? And then can be used to leverage better trade deals. Of course, this is not leveraging on greater or better trade deals. Instead, it's trying to create trade wars. The cons make things so expensive that the ordinary man would not be able to get basic stuff like groceries, pay basic bills, you know. So the cons are higher prices for consumers, because for whatever trade war, the number one person that would be affected is the consumer. The consumer would be made to pay exorbitant prices through their noses, right? So if you're not in the middle class, if you're below the middle class, woe unto you. And then one of the cons is retaliation from other countries, leading to trade wars. Of course, when Trump imposes the tariffs on China, China increased and imposed their own tariffs by 125%, like, you know. So it's crazy, right? So you've seen it in the videos where luxury goods that, in short, basic goods that people that are made or manufactured in China for half of the, for example, $30, and then once they're being brought to the US, they're being sold for $300, right? So you're made to pay more money than it should, you know. So it's crazy. And then one of the cons is it hurts exporters if other countries respond tariffs of their own, just like the way China is retaliating by responding to the tariffs being laid by the Trump administration, right? It hurts exporters, like people that export, your own people in America that are producing stuff and they're trying to export. It's gonna cost them more money to export to other countries, you know, because of other countries imposing their own tariffs as a way of retaliation against your own government imposing tariffs on them. Disrupt global supply chains, especially for industries like automotive or tech. Like cars are going to be so expensive now. Even electronics are going to be so expensive because 80% of all automotive technologies, goods, and other stuff that we buy are literally not even just in the US, but literally throughout the world. China is the highest country when it comes to manufacturing of goods, like from your cars, from your phones, from your laptops, you know, to your wares, your bags, all of those things. Almost 80% are being manufactured in China. And now the government is trying to impose. And again, it's an eye-opener because just like I've been saying, and just like the videos had been portrayed, a lot of these luxury companies usually manufacture these designer bags, designer shoes, clothing at a very, very minimal price. And then they just take it back to Europe, Italy, and just go slap their names on it and just inscribe their designer names on it. And they bring it back or ship it back to the rest of the world at a very, very, very high prices. So this is like an eye-opener that these people had been literally robbing people of their hard-earned monies, right? It has exposed what all these multi-billion brands, luxury brands, they've been siphoning. I mean, they've been robbing people of their money throughout the years. Guys, please drop your thoughts in the comment section. What do you think about these tariffs? And what do you think about these luxurious brands that have been robbing people like daylight robbery, I would say, literally? What are your thoughts on it? Please share your thoughts and drop it in the comment section. But don't forget, please do me the honor and subscribe to this channel. I've seen a lot of you who usually come to watch but are yet to subscribe. Please, I urge you, subscribe, and don't forget to share this video with your friends so that a lot of people will actually know what is happening in the world. You can't afford to live in the dark with this so much information, you know. To be forewarned is to be forearmed. So guys, see you in the next videos. Have a great day.